YouTube? Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for King-ohger episode 6. So in this episode, we have the team united. I mean, they're not working together yet, but we have all the team introduced. We know all their characters. We got this dynamic set, and we are dealing with the Scorpion Zord being taken by the Bugnarok. And we kind of open up primarily with the core team of characters discussing everything. And it brings up something that's pretty cool about this dynamic, which I mentioned last week that I was looking forward to being able to see the core cast interact. Since Dawn Brothers, you had a very, different approach to it, which I appreciated. But it wasn't until the end of the series we got to see the characters interact. 4 of the characters were suit robots and Zenkaiger, so it's nice to have 5-6 characters now together that can interact. But it's not only nice to have that, but it's a very different dynamic than usual. It's not the usual kumbaya or, 2 rangers have a disagreement over a filler episode plot. As all the rangers have their own individual motivations for their kingdoms and for themselves, as well as their own allegiances. Like Black Ranger is still annoying as hell, and he's allied to Rackley's for the moment. I think Purple is just pretty much aligned to Justice right now, and her stuffed animals. Understandable. And then I feel like Blue is probably more willing to go with Gira. I don't think he's like, oh, I'm Team Gira all the way, but obviously he'd be more willing to work with him and stuff like that. So that creates a really interesting dynamic than the usual dynamic, as this sort of like medieval politics happening amongst all this. You also have Gira, who is welcomed back with open arms initially by his peasant friends, who are now happy to find out he's a prince because now he can do them all the favors. And they turn on him real quick, though, which we'll get to in a second, but they're really happy to see him initially. And then Gira goes full-blown Toku Twerp cartoon and attacks Rackley's with both a sword and his terrible overacting about everything that went down, basically. And Rackley's reveals, now take this with a grain of salt, that he says that Gira was kidnapped when he was younger, and that's why he was missing, but they covered it up because they didn't want to appear weak. Now, I would not take this at face value. It's possible that this entire story is a lie for Rackley's to save face. I'm thinking there's a bit of truth to this, but Rackley's is obviously manipulating it so he doesn't look bad. I think he's obviously manipulating this for his own gain. Right now, maybe when he was younger, maybe he saw Gira being kidnapped and didn't say anything. I don't know. At this moment, my theory is, like I said, there's a bit of truth to this, but obviously there's going to be more to the story than this. I don't think this is a hand-wave explanation, and we're never going to touch upon this again, especially since we already did a flashback, so I'm very interested by that. I honestly wasn't really expecting that explanation. I mean, even if we're taking this explanation at face value, and let's pretend this is the explanation for a hot second, it raises the question of like, okay, I can understand the idea or the thought behind we don't want the kingdom to appear weak about the kidnapping, but how did they hide the existence of a kid from the kingdom? Especially when I'm thinking about Game of Thrones and they make a big deal like, oh, the king's had a son, an heir finally, or he's had a daughter. Pfft, not a son. Like, it's such a big deal. Like, I can understand wanting to hide the kidnapping, but being able to hide the kid at such a young age, if the kid was like just born and the wife was for whatever reason hiding the pregnancy, she would have had to hide the pregnancy too. This is full of plot holes. I'm quitting the show. Regardless, it kind of raises a bunch of funny questions, but it's an interesting development nonetheless. But yeah, Gira is full-on twerpy annoying. It's funny because like, principle-wise, I'm on Gira's side. Rackley's is a total manipulative douche who only wants power, and Gira's trying to do the right thing. But he's being presented as such an annoying Toku twerp that I'm like, I'm on Rackley's side at this very moment. You're just so annoying. Why always this? Why this is the opposite of endearing. I hate this acting, this style of acting. Regardless, though, he then gets swept out of there by the little bike on Kuwagata because it signifies his unique bond with it. And Rackley's has cut the others off from their mecha just as the Bugnarok are attacking because they have one of the shoe gods, but then they're holding ransom by putting these other sort of like, they're not like bombs, but they're this sort of like monster eggs or whatever throughout the city. And Gira starts a fight with one of the Bugnarok. And the Bugnarok finally take a little bit of center stage here. It's kind of funny how in the background the main villains are as the drama and everything of the characters and the kingdoms take center stage. This felt like the first episode where the villains were a little more present. Like, yeah, they've been there, but even in this episode, it felt like it took a back seat to a lot of the character drama. But this felt more like the most significant time the villains have had. And I really like our main villain's design here, or one of our main villains. Can't remember his name, probably will never learn it, but he's got a cool design and I like him, and it was nice to see the villains get a little bit of action in this episode. But ultimately, Gira winds up getting the Scorpion medallion from him so he can use it. And then around this time we get this turn where Rackley's is able to turn public opinion of Gira against him, because you remember when he took the powers at the beginning, it was kind of this flipped script based off of his shtick with when he plays with the neighborhood kids of playing the villain, where Rackley's is the noble king that's evil, and he's the evil conqueror that's good. And he basically does that whole bit in front of the community, where Rackley's like pretends he's being really welcoming and like he's like, together we can rule as brother and brother, and then Rackley's like, no, I'm gonna be the villain that takes the kingdom down, and all the peasants turn on him, including this one that was like wearing the absolute most stereotypical peasant outfit and is also overacting, like, stop chewing the scenery, it's obnoxious. I'm sorry, I just don't like it. It's great. Every year it gets more annoying to me, but that's an interesting development. I think that his core like kid friends understand what's going on and they kind of give him more oh, Gira reaction, but that's definitely an interesting way of turning that narrative against him. I kind of liked that in the first episode because it was a funny flip on the roles that played into the bit he always does with the neighborhood kids. But now it's just like he's doing this bit and it comes across like a cartoon and it's getting him in trouble, even though I know he has noble intentions. And it's just made worse through the episode when he looks bad when he's attacking a fake real version of the Megazord, because he gets in the Scorpion. And side note, it's kind of cool, like the mecha battle this week. I mean, yes, King-ohger does show up at the very end in like CGI form, but the mecha battle is primarily Kuwagata and Scorpion just in their regular forms, which gives us a bit of a different flavor of mecha battle, which was fun. And Scorpion's pretty cool. But when he's fighting off all the villains, all of a sudden King-ohger does show up. The other Rangers are cut off from it, and they're like, what the hell? We're cut off from it. How is it even here? Not to mention Kuwagata's there. How is King-ohger here? And then Gira stings him with Scorpion, and it disintegrates. It initially turns this purple color that looks like a special edition Dano ni Taijin, but then it turns out to be this Kuwagata Zero, which is obviously going to be the mecha for Rackley's when he becomes Ohkuwagata Ohger Silver Gray or whatever. Is it silver or gray? I feel like it's silver and gray. It's Slay! No, but regardless, it's going to be his mecha. It's like a black gold repaint. Looks pretty awesome, but that's kind of our reveal for that. And that's honestly kind of where we end the episode, because after that happens and like the main plot of the episode comes to an end, we kind of end on not a cliffhanger, but a scene with Rackley's being like, oh, it's finally time, you know, it's for my spin-off. And he's got his mecha there floating in the air, and then he's showing off the golden sword, which has been there throughout the episodes, I guess. It was more prominently featured this week, as he also cut up the like agreement between the 5 kingdoms, where he's like, I am the kingdom now. He wants them all to pledge loyalty to him, to bend the knee. Very good episode. The pacing was a little bit jumbled, but I found it to be overall pretty good continuation now that we have things set up. Like I said, I really enjoy the unique dynamic of the Rangers all having their own motivations and own alliances that will probably only change and evolve as we go on. I really like the dynamic we have between Rackley's and Gira. Gira definitely got on my nerves in this episode, but I definitely still like the dynamic. I like the way we've been slowly setting up his Ranger form. I think there's been a really nice slow burn to that. I think it was announced after I recorded last week's review, but they are doing one of those YouTube spin-off shows to do like an Origins episode, kind of like they did with, I don't remember if they did anything with Dawn Brothers. I might not have watched it, but I know they did something similar for, was it the Red Ranger that they did that for, Zenkai Red? But it's going to be like that. It's going to be like a one-off little YouTube special, which is cool. And there's been just cool build-up in general. I thought it was some cool twists and turns with his own mecha, cool build-up to that. I think there's been a nice balance of more story for the Shoe Gods rather than just like, oh, here's a new auxiliary mecha. So yeah, strong episode, 4 out of 5. I almost gave it a 3 because, like I said, the pacing was a little bit weird, but everything else in the episode was just so strong, and it was really different than your average Sentai episode. Very serialized feeling, a lot of interesting dynamics at play, definitely keeping me interested in stuff. But what did you guys think of the episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. See you notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.